Maybe if it wants to. I think it's there it goes. Now we're recording. Okay, and I'm going to share my screen with you guys so you can see Test Coupa. So what we're looking at here is the test site. You can tell it's this bright red versus our normal blue that we see. So today we're going over SPOs, standing purchase orders, service purchase orders. There's a couple different uses for them. The way we use them is mostly for services. So when we have the example that I have up here that we'll be using today is forklift preventative maintenance. So we set up a program with our vendor and they come out once a month and they do preventative maintenance on all of our forklifts and pallet jacks and everything, all of our warehouse equipment. And they make sure everything is running good and we're not going to have any major mechanical issues down the line. So we want to pay them every month though, and we want to make sure that we're paying them on time. So what we did was we went out and we set up an SPO. So it's a service purchase order, and we can see here I have a line for every month. It's a $500 fee every month. So I pay them $500 every month. And we use this, and I'll receive to this every month as they submit their invoices. So we got all of the dollars approved all at once at the beginning of the year. And now it's just a matter of making sure the vendor is invoicing to our SPO and making sure that we're completing our receipts in a timely manner. So to start with, how do we create an SPO? So SPOs are generated from free text racks. So write a request over here, and we would come in here, and I'm going to use the forklift example. We'll use forklift PM, and it's January. Now we have two options here. So we can set this up as a dollar amount, or we can set it up as a quantity. So if we set it up as a dollar amount, we're going to get the dollars approved. So we'll say $6,000 for the whole year. We'll get all of those dollars approved, and it'll be on one single line that looks like this. So this is an amount one, and we created it to where it has one price, it's one line, and we'll just receive these dollars to it throughout the year. So we'll get back to that in just a second. So we would come in, we would put our description in, January. So we're going to do this as a quantity because we'll do one for every month. So my supplier is Arnold Machinery. My commodity is repair and maintenance. Again, if you don't know it, you can use the drop downs to kind of navigate through it. There's an equipment one here. Of course, I lost it. There it is. That's the one I was looking for. Unit price, we know it's going to cost us $500 a month. We're going to leave it at a quantity of one because I only want to pay once $500. Unit of measure is going to remain each. My need by date will be the last day of the month that I want to receive it in. So in this case, it would be 1/31/22. If we were doing an annual one, you would go all the way out to the end of the year. Once we've filled in all this information, we're going to click add to cart. And it's going to go into our cart. We would go through here and add each line. So it's super easy. You can just check the box next to your first line, hit copy, and it's going to generate another line for you that looks exactly like this. So you would just need to update your month and your need by date. Oops, 31. Where did I get 31? There we go. And save it. And you would just go down the line and do that for every month or every quarter or whatever the cycle is that your service is happening on. Once you've completed this part, you've got all of your lines in place here. You've got the header information that we normally have here up at the top. So you've got your deposits required, your capital, and your CRF. We also have this other box over here, this SPO box. So we want to make sure that we check that box, because what that's going to do is it's going to change the approval chain slightly and add in the regional directors of procurement just to make sure that everything is on the up and up and we've got all the contracts attached properly and everything is correct. We'll come down the line. Because it's a free text rec, it is going to go to buyer action before it flips into a PO. So then we would go through, make sure our approval chain is correct, and hit submit for approval. It'll go into buyer action, it'll go through the buyers, and then it'll go through the regional directors and any other approvals based on dollar amounts. And then from there, it'll turn into a PO. So we can see this is the one that I just created that's pending buyer action here. So once we have our SPO created, we also have to manage it. And as SPO owners, that is our responsibility. So couple of different ways that we're going to see this happening. The biggest one that I think most end users use is the to-do list here. So mine looks different than what you guys is going to look like because of my access as a buyer. I see everything, where you guys are only going to see what's limited to your user instance as a requester. So what you'll see is that your rec requires a receipt, or an invoice has been submitted to rec number such and such. And then there'll be a button over here that actually says create receipt. This might be familiar to some of you already who are doing receipts in Coupa already. So the other way that we can do it is we can actually go in through our activity. So we're going to go hover over my name up here and click on activity. And we're going to say, I want to receive January on my big one here, the whole every month one. So to do that, I'm going to click on the little truck. And I'm going to come in here and it's a quantity. So I only want to receive the one. It won't let me over receive it. It'll only let me receive the one, but I do not want to receive the whole thing. If I receive the whole thing, I'm accruing for all of it on my financials every single month. And I promise you, your finance leaders will not like that. B, you're also allowing the vendor to invoice what they want, and we're eliminating the option for the end user to review it. So if we just receive the whole thing, every time a vendor submits their invoice, it's just going to automatically go through because we've already done our stopgap by receiving the whole thing. So it's really important that we make sure we're only receiving for the month that we want to pay right now. So we would put in our one, our receipt date would be the day that we received it, or the day that the service took place in this case. We would come down, put our accounting company code and our property code in, and hit submit. And once we do that, we can actually go to the purchase order, and we can see that I've received one. The pending invoice, so this is the invoice that was attached to it. Chances are it's requiring an approval from someone else based on the approval matrix. Plus, this is the test environment. I don't know that the approval matrices are all up to date in here. So, but what we will normally see is once we've completed that receipt, this number for the pending invoice will move into approved invoice and everything is good to go and it's going to pay. So that's how we manage a quantity-based SPO. To do a amount-based SPO is very similar. We just have to pay attention to something a little bit differently. So doing an amount-based PO, this is the one we're going to use right here. I actually need to look at the purchase order first. So I'm going to click on the PO number over here. And then I'm going to come down here and I'm going to look at my line and I'm going to see how much the vendor is invoicing me for. So in this case, the charges every month are going to vary. That's a good reason to do an amount-based SPO. If you've got the same charge every single month, it definitely makes sense to just do an amount, or I'm sorry, a quantity based and do one line for every month or quarter. If you're charges are going to vary month after month or quarter after quarter. You definitely want to do it more as an amount based. Get your total spend approved all at once, but then the supplier can invoice the dollar amount that they need to as they need to. So we would come in here, we would make note of the amount that is being charged. So 784.52. And then we can go back into our activity. If we agree to this dollar amount, if we agree that that's the amount that they should be charging us, we would go in and we can complete the receipt. So we would come here, check the little truck. If we disagree with this amount, you need to connect with your buyers and the supplier and figure out why it's wrong, how to fix it, or find out the variance somewhere. Now, this one's even more important to be careful what you're receiving, because in this case, if we check all, it's going to receive the whole thing, all $6,000. Again, that means all $6,000 are going to accrue on your P&Ls every month. And it also means that the supplier can charge you anything they want and it's going to go straight through. So it's super important that we make sure that we're only receiving the dollar amount that we want to pay right now. If you've been on any one of my trainings, you've heard me say it before, do not use the quick receipts box. Do not use the all box. It's just a really bad habit to get into. So once we put in the dollar amount that we want to pay, we would go over to our receipt date and put in our accounting company code and our property code and hit submit. And once again, if we go look at, I guess I could have clicked there, the PO, we can see now it's showing partially received because I have received some of it. We can go look at it and we can see the dollar amount that we've received, and the pending invoiced amount has moved into approved invoice. So that's exactly what we would hope to see. So that is the basics of SPOs, how to create it, how to manage it. Does anybody have any questions? Feel free to unmute yourself. This is the first time I've ever done this actual training, so I wasn't sure how long it was going to take. All right, I'm going to take the silence as no questions. So this will be posted on the Knowledge Center in Coupa if you guys want to come back to it. Or of course, you can always reach out to me or eProcurement with any questions. Thank you all for joining today.
Thank you.
Thank you.